Hi, Eric from North American Rider Magazine. Today is Sunday, April the 26th. And as you can see, the sun is shining, the sky is blue, and it's just a gorgeous day. And I've got to go pick some prescriptions up over at a Walmart that I don't normally get my prescriptions at, so it's going to be a little bit longer ride today. But I invite you along, and we'll discuss some things along the way. And one of which is I got a new surprise package in the mail this week. And we'll talk about that in the upcoming video as I head to Walmart. So we'll let this fade into the next section, and I trust that you'll just enjoy the ride along with me. Well, here we go. We're getting ready to head towards Walmart in Calera, Alabama, which is about 15 miles further than the one I normally go to, but that's where my doctor called the prescription in, so that's where I got to go pick it up. So, beautiful day. It's about 70 degrees. Sky's blue, sun's shining. So it's just a really nice day for a ride. So we'll put the shield down. That makes a difference, raising the windshield up. A little bit breezy today. Yeah. We'll put that down and just leave it cracked a little bit. So in the opening, I started to say that I got a nice surprise this weekend in the mail, or this week in the mail. And the way that it was a surprise, it was something that I actually had ordered, but I just didn't expect it to come this soon. But it'll be something that we do an upcoming review on here in the next week or two. And I just got to get it all set up, but I got a package from SENA, and I got the new 50S communication headset. So I know there's a lot of different feelings out there regarding the SENA. Especially when they came out with the 30K. Did the 30K work? Did it not work? And all kinds of things. And I know that it caused some people to move away from SENA. Chris Caliente was one that had been a very faithful rider using the SENA 20S. And just really highly recommended it, and was a very strong supporter of it. And because he does lead large group rides, when the 30K came out, he was looking forward to the 30K being an answer where those that were riding with him, if they had the 30K, would be able to mix and join the conversation and everything else. Subsequently, when 30K first came out, there were issues with it that had a lot of snap, crackle, and pop in it. There were issues with volume.
There were actually several issues with the 30K. When we got our 30K set, my wife and I, mine seemed to work fine. Hers snapped, crackled, and popped and had all kinds of issues, and she said, I just can't use this thing. I want to go back to the 20S. Actually, we were using the 20S Evos at the time, and so we put the 20S back on hers, and I just kept updating with the new updates that would come along to the 30K, and it finally got to the point where the 30K actually worked good between her and I. Now, with that being said, we didn't know anybody that had the 30Ks, so we didn't wind up using the mesh network, only to just try it between the two of us. So I can't give an honest opinion and review as far as the mesh network was concerned. So pretty much anytime SENA comes out with a new headset, we get a set of them so that I can do a review in the magazine. So these came in the mail, I think, on Friday, and I have not opened them yet because I wanted to actually do a grand opening of the box, an unboxing, and then actually shoot a video of the actual installation process on it. So that'll be coming forward here in like I said, a week or two. Then I want to get a chance to get my wife and I out and experience the sound quality, the communication quality of the new 50S. And I'd like to find somebody that actually either has a 50S or a 30K. And the reason why I bring up the 30K is because on May the 1st, later on this coming week, SENA is releasing the upgrade patch that if you have the 30Ks, you can upgrade to the new Mesh 2.0. So that should take care of a lot of the problems that people were having with the mesh units. We'll see, but like I said, if I can find somebody that's got a 30K that will upgrade to the new 2.0, or if they have gone out and bought the new 50S or 50R, we'll see how it works. But kind of excited about it. When we started doing reviews in the magazine, I was still writing for Born to Ride magazine, and I did product reviews, and we started out with the Cardo systems, and the Cardo systems worked great. We enjoyed having them. The only thing was we rode year-round. We were living in North Georgia at the time, up in the mountains, North Carolina, Tennessee, up in the area of Tell the Dragon. So anybody that's familiar with that area knows that we get winter months and cold up there. So even though we rode year-round, we had thick, heavy winter gloves on, and trying to use the 3-button system on the Cardos just was, I did not find it comfortable. Neither did my wife. And so we switched over at that time and started with the UH10. Anyway, it was the 10s that was out at that time with the jog dial, and we fell in love with them. You know, they were a good unit, and of course, as time changed and different functions came out with new Bluetooth options and things like that, I picked up some of the other devices that would work with the SENA, but they required a little bit better Bluetooth option than what the 10's HMS or whatever it was, 10 was offering. We picked up the backpack for the GoPro cameras, and they required a little bit better. I think they required the 2 or 3 in the Bluetooth. I can't remember which version they were on. I guess 2. And so we upgraded to the 20S. Loved the 20S. Didn't have any problems with it. When the 20S Evos came out, we got the 20S Evos. Continued to use them. And one of those, the 20S or the 20S Evo, there was an issue with snap, crackling, and pop when you were shooting video. And after enough people complained, and after a couple of updates, SENA seemed to eliminate that problem. So overall, we've been very happy. We've stayed with SENA all the way through. I know Chris and his group switched over to the Cardo Pack Talk, and Chris seems to be happy with it. Like I said, we never had a problem really with the Cardo. It was just a personal dislike of the way that their buttons were on it. So I guess it's to each his own. If you lead a group or ride in a group, you want to try to get the same brand as what they use. Now, especially if they're using mesh. Bluetooth will talk to other brand headsets than what you're running, but if you're running a mesh network, you have to have the same brand as what everybody else is running. And maybe that'll change as it comes down the road a little bit, but for now you have to run the same. With that, needless to say, with all that being said, we've chosen to stay with SENA, been very happy with it. The group rides that we lead, our folks run the SENAs. Overall, in the scope of the motorcycling world, SENA is number 1 as far as the amount of users out there. Like I said, Cardo does a great job, but SENA is the number 1 manufacturer, number of units out there being used on the road today. So that's my spiel about SENA, and the fact that we've got the 50S coming up to give a try. I hope it works out well. I hope all the issues have been resolved, and really looking forward to giving these units a good review here. First, the review, I'll put a video up of the unboxing and stuff like that here in the next week or so. The review in the magazine will probably be a month or 2 out yet, because we will actually take them and wear them and use them and get an honest opinion of, did they succeed in what they accomplished to do by coming out with a new Mesh 2? Did they eliminate all the little bugs that they've had? And I know Chris went on YouTube, made a video of his opinion before the units were released, he gave a pre-release opinion about them, whether it would be worth getting them or not. And he was comparing pictures on the internet to compare the 30K and the 50S, and of course nobody had seen the Mesh 2 yet, so that was kind of an unfair comparison, unfortunately. Chris does a great job on the stuff that he does, but to try and do a review on something before it comes out just typically doesn't work out. And I have to honestly say that that's one thing I disagreed with Chris about, was to release a review before the units were actually out there and before he personally had physically put his hands on a set and tried them. Because he's right in the review that he did. The box, if you just read the box, it doesn't look like there's much change in the units at all. But there's a lot of subtle changes that they've made to the unit that are not mentioned on the box cover. And of course the big thing was nobody had tried the Mesh 2 yet, so there's no way you could do an actual comparison. So with that being said, hopefully we'll be able to give it an honest review in the magazine here in a month or so. So at this point, I think that's all I've got to beat on about the SENA. So the next thing is, how are you all doing with the lockdown? Are you really bored yet? It seems like I've been seeing a lot more people post on Facebook that they've been getting on their bikes and going out for rides, and that's good. I'm glad to see that. Hopefully, you're allowed to do that where you're at. A lot of people, whether they're allowed to do it or not, they're doing it anyway. You can only stay locked up for so long before, you've got to do something. And getting out and ride the bikes is probably, in my opinion, one of the safest things that you can do, because when you ride, most of the time you're riding single, and you're never within 6 feet of anybody, and yet you're out in the fresh air, getting all the advantages of being out in the fresh air. So, I'm happy to see people getting out and riding. I'm glad to see the states starting to open up things, but just because the states are opening up things does not mean that you don't have to abide by the distancing rule and everything else, because the coronavirus is still out there. We got news on Friday that our son has symptoms of the coronavirus. He lives in Georgia, which is, as you know, been on the news for receiving a lot of criticisms for some of the places that the governor has opened up over there. So it's my son works in management with Walmart. He's in an upper management position with them, but he's in the stores all the time, and the management, and if you noticed, at least in some Walmarts, the front cashiers do not wear masks. And I'm not saying that's what has caused the situation with our son, but we're still waiting for his test results to come back, and we're hoping and praying for the best in that situation. But so I share that to say that even though your governor may be opening things up, the chance of getting the virus are still very high. So we need to take precaution on it. But I don't want to make this another coronavirus deal. I think that horse has been beat to death, and if you go on to Facebook or any social media, you're just going to find all kinds of things about the coronavirus. Go to YouTube, look at all that. So anyway, enough said on the coronavirus, and let's move on to another subject. So now that spring is here, we're still experiencing some cool days. We went through a section here just before Easter. We were running mid-80s every day, and Easter Sunday, you're probably aware of all the tornadoes that came through the southeast. Actually, they started in Texas and worked their way all across. Ever since Easter Sunday, the temperatures have remained cool and below our normal average temperature for this time of year. I'm showing 71 right now on the speedometer here for air temperature. Excuse me. So, but it's nice to get out and ride. It's a nice riding temperature, and I'm enjoying it. With that being said, also, I'd like to just ask, what are your riding plans for the spring? You know, if you're in a lockdown, can't ride, I'm sure that's going to be changing here in the next week or two. So, you know, what are your plans? Do you have plans? If you live in the south anywhere, do you plan to go up and ride the tail of the dragon? I know Memphis Mike is chomping at the bit to get back over there and ride the tail of the dragon. And he and I have been in touch and trying to make some plans where I'm going to pull the bunkhouse camper up and go up to Memphis. We'll do some riding up there. I'd like to try and be there for maybe bike night if they ever reopen that this year. Bike night on Beale Street. But Mike he's ready to come back over to Tennessee and ride the tail of the dragon, and so you know we may catch him up over there someplace. Those of you that have followed us for a while knew that we lived in the northeast Georgia mountains. We were about an hour and 20 minutes from the tail of the dragon where we lived. And we used to go up there and do a ride quite a bit. Personally, for me, I don't care to ride the tail of the dragon. I've done it once or twice. That's enough. You get all the younger kids on crotch rockets, and you get the sports cars up there that think they own the road, and that you know they don't care about the safety of the other riders on the tail, and you know it's just not a pleasant experience to ride it on the weekends. The weekdays are a little bit better. I don't mind it, but the perfect alternative right there in the same area is the Cherahella Skyway. And when we would lead our rides up there, most of the time we would choose to ride the Cherahella Skyway. You know, it's like 40 some miles long from end to end, gentle sweeping curves through the mountains, and just a very scenic route. Very nice ride. And at the starting point, they're only about 3 miles apart from one another. So, you know, that's an option if you're headed in that direction, is to ride the Cherahella Skyway instead of Tail of the Dragon. So, as far as our rides that I'm doing rides in the area here. Still only haven't been in Alabama for 2 years, 2.5 years. I really haven't gotten to know all the good riding routes yet. We belong to a couple different groups that do rides, but we haven't been on that many of them. So needless to say, I plan to get out and explore some of the other rides here in Alabama. I bought a book of the 50 most favorite rides in the state of Alabama, so we'll be using that and taking some rides. The other thing that my wife and I are doing that we didn't do last year or in 18 when I first bought the Gold Wing, because I didn't put the trailer hitch on the bike. I waited almost a year before I bought the hitch, and then once it came, it sat in my office, and I never got it put on up until this spring when I went to Daytona Bike Week. Put it on so I could haul the bunkhouse down there. So we're looking forward to being able to latch on to the camper and take and go camping. We would have been doing it the last few weekends, except for the campgrounds are all closed. So it's just a matter of hurry up and wait. But we enjoy camping. We enjoy our bunkhouse very much. It's kind of, at this point, really the ideal alternative for us. Unless you were to do a toy hauler. But the thing with a toy hauler is you don't get to ride your bikes to where you're going. But over the years, from the time that we were married 41 years ago, my wife and I have camped. We started with tents on our honeymoon, and we worked our way up from tents, and we went through the Coleman pop-up camper, 20-some foot long pop-up camper, and that was fun. We enjoyed that. Then we got our first upright, and then subsequently went through 2 or 3 uprights, and finally our last upright was a 36-foot with dual slide-outs on it. We enjoyed that. You had to have a dually truck to pull it, but we enjoyed that, and then we started really riding the motorcycle seriously and wanted to do motorcycle camping, and so we actually wound up selling the big 36-foot camper, and we went back to tents, taking tents with the motorcycle. And we had a lot of fun doing that, but that at that time, I guess that was about 10 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood, 12 years ago. Basically, what wound up happening is I found that I had gotten old, and trying to sleep on the hard ground, I just couldn't do it. And then if you had to put clothes on, trying to stand up in a little tent and get dressed was not fun. So we suffered through that. We got us a big blow-up mattress and everything else, so we were carrying so much on the bike that we were winding up having to take 2 bikes with us. One of them fully strapped down with all the camping gear, and then the other one so that my wife could ride, go camping with me. So after looking around, what we decided was the little pop-up bunkhouse camper was the direction we needed to go, and we looked at all of them. We were most satisfied with the bunkhouse, with what we found, and so we We actually found a used one down in Florida, and the guy met me halfway and said, "Look, if you don't like it, no problems. I'll take it back. No questions asked." Well, when we met him, it was like brand new. They had used it very little, taken very good care of it. So we wound up buying it, and it's been great. It had the attic room with it and everything. So when that thing's opened up, we're over 20 feet long, and it's got a queen size bed in it. So we're very happy, very comfortable when we go camping now. And now we just need the places to open up so that we can actually get out there and use it. So anyway, I have jabbered long enough that I've made it to the Walmart where I need to pick up my prescriptions. And so we will talk to you all later and see you. And as always, I just want to say ride safe and ride often. This is Eric with North American Rider Magazine.